What if I told you that one of the biggest mysteries of our time was solved by a box? Not a treasure chest, not a magical artifact, but a plain, ordinary-looking box. This isn't a scene from a movie. This is the incredible true story of the Unabomber and how a radical new idea, forensic linguistics, brought a 17-year reign of terror to an end. This is Justice in a Box. Between 1978 and 1995, America was haunted by a series of bombings that targeted universities and airlines. The FBI, stumped and desperate, codenamed their elusive suspect the Unabomber. For nearly 2 decades, this phantom figure mailed or placed homemade bombs, killing 3 people and injuring 23 others. The bomber was a ghost, leaving behind no fingerprints, no DNA, no witnesses. All he left were his bombs and, eventually, his words. The case was going nowhere. Imagine the frustration. 17 years, dozens of victims, thousands of agents on the case, and they were no closer to finding him than they were on day one. The Unabomber was meticulous, building his devices from scrap materials that were impossible to trace. He was a shadow, moving unseen and unheard. The public was terrified, and the authorities were facing a crisis of confidence. How do you catch a ghost? Then, in 1995, everything changed. The Unabomber did something no one expected. He sent a 35,000-word essay, a manifesto titled Industrial Society and Its Future, to major newspapers, demanding they publish it. He promised that, if they did, he would stop the bombings. This was a massive gamble for the FBI. Publishing the ramblings of a terrorist could be seen as giving in to his demands, potentially inspiring copycats. But it was also their first real chance to get inside his head. The Attorney General, Janet Reno, and the director of the FBI made the controversial decision to publish. The Washington Post printed the full manifesto, and suddenly, the Unabomber's voice was out there for the world to read. It was a dense, academic critique of modern technology and society. He argued that the Industrial Revolution was a disaster for the human race, leading to psychological suffering and environmental destruction. It was complex, it was angry, and it was filled with clues. But not the kind you could dust for prints. The clues were in his language. This is where our story takes a fascinating turn. The FBI had thousands of calls, thousands of tips pouring in. Everyone thought they knew who the Unabomber was. But one tip stood out. It came from a man named David Kaczynski. He read the manifesto and felt a chilling sense of familiarity. The ideas, the phrasing, the strange and specific use of certain words. It reminded him of his estranged, brilliant, and reclusive brother, Ted. David was torn. Accusing your own brother is an unimaginable decision. He and his wife, Linda, spent weeks agonizing over it. They dug up old letters Ted had written, letters filled with similar anti-technology rants. They compared them to the manifesto. Ted used the exact same incorrect phrase in his letters. It was a tiny detail, but in a case this cold, tiny details were everything. This is the birth of what we now call forensic linguistics. It's the science of using language as a kind of verbal fingerprint. Every person has a unique way of writing and speaking. Our choice of words, our grammar, our spelling mistakes, our favorite phrases. This is our idiolect. By analyzing the Unabomber's manifesto and comparing it to Ted Kaczynski's letters, investigators could build a powerful case. An FBI profiler named James Fitzgerald was central to this effort. He wasn't just looking for what was said, he was looking for how it was said. He analyzed the sentence structure, the punctuation, the very rhythm of the writing. He noticed that both the manifesto and Ted's letters had a formal, almost academic tone, but with peculiar, folksy expressions mixed in. It was a very specific and unusual writing style. The linguistic evidence was mounting, creating a profile of the author that pointed directly to Ted. Armed with this linguistic evidence, the FBI secured a search warrant for a remote, 10 by 12-foot cabin in the mountains of Montana. This tiny shack, with no electricity or running water, was Ted Kaczynski's home. And what they found inside was staggering. It was the Unabomber's lair. They found a live, ready-to-be-mailed bomb-making components, and most importantly, the original typewritten manuscript of the manifesto. It was the ultimate smoking gun. The box of evidence was complete. Ted Kaczynski, a former math prodigy with a PhD from Harvard who had walked away from a promising academic career to live as a hermit, was the Unabomber. The man who raged against technology had been caught because of the technology of language analysis. His own words, the very weapon he used to spread his ideology, became the key that unlocked his identity and put him in a different kind of box, a prison cell for the rest of his life. The story doesn't end there. The use of forensic linguistics in the Unabomber case was a watershed moment. It legitimized the field and showed its incredible power in solving crimes. Today, forensic linguists help with everything from analyzing ransom notes and threatening emails to determining authorship in plagiarism cases. They can analyze text messages to see if they were really written by the person who supposedly sent them. They can even examine the language used in emergency calls to detect deception. Think about it. Your unique linguistic patterns are as much a part of you as your DNA. The way you text your friends, the emails you write for work, even the comments you leave on YouTube videos, they all contain traces of your idiolect. It's a bit of a mind-bending thought, isn't it, that our words carry a hidden signature? The Unabomber case is a perfect example of how justice can come from the most unexpected places. It wasn't a high-speed chase or a dramatic shootout that caught him. It was a brother's painful decision and a careful, methodical analysis of language. It was a triumph of intellect over violence, of pattern recognition over chaos. It shows that sometimes the most powerful evidence isn't something you can see or touch. It's hidden in plain sight, in the structure of our sentences and the choices we make when we put our thoughts into words. The case of the Unabomber is more than just a true crime story. It's a story about family, betrayal, and the surprising power of language. It's the story of how a 35,000-word manifesto, a box of old letters, and a revolutionary new science finally brought justice. It's a reminder that every detail matters, and sometimes the key to solving the biggest puzzles lies in the smallest quirks of human expression. The pen, or in this case, the typewriter, truly can be mightier than the sword or the bomb. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this story as fascinating as I did, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into incredible true stories. Let me know in the comments what you think about forensic linguistics. Could your own writing style give you away? See you in the next video.